This incident happened when I was in my sophomore year of high school at the age of 16. Since my home was far from the school, I always walked to and from school. At that time, my Instagram account was public, and I merely shared some minor stories from my life. I didn't think this would bring any danger or trouble to me until that incident occurred. The walk home after school provided me with a rare moment of tranquility, as I would pass through a park, so I often took pictures of the beautiful scenery there. The park scenery changed with the seasons, and that day, it was covered in a thin layer of gold, which made me stop in my tracks and take out my phone to capture the moment. I took several photos and uploaded my favorite one to my Instagram story with the caption "A little happiness on the way home from school." I habitually browsed through my story viewers, which were mostly classmates and a few people I knew. However, I noticed a new follower whom I didn't recognize, with a username consisting of a string of numbers and letters, nothing special. I didn't think much of it and continued on my way, enjoying the small journey home. A few days later, this new follower began to leave comments under my posts, initially just some heart emojis, seemingly liking my daily shares. I didn't take it seriously, as receiving such feedback on social media isn't uncommon. I didn't even bother to check his profile. After all, I thought he was just another ordinary follower. It wasn't until one day when I was passing by the park again, ready to capture some newly fallen yellow leaves, that I realized something was off ever since that unremarkable follower appeared. Every time I posted about the park in photos or videos, those heart emojis would appear shortly after, and only for that kind of content. I tried to recall, but I hadn't explicitly mentioned anywhere in my post that this was my way home from school. This made me uneasy, and I began to suspect that there was a connection I hadn't noticed before. At this point, I finally decided to take a closer look at this mysterious follower's account, hoping to find some clues. What I found was an empty profile, with no personal photos, no substantial posts, just a username made up of a series of incomprehensible numbers and letters, and a follow list that included me and some other seemingly random high school girls. This discovery left a bad taste in my mouth, and I immediately blocked this mysterious follower. However, a few days later, as I was walking home from school through the park and stopped to take a selfie, I suddenly noticed a man following behind me. It was dusk, and the sky was somewhat gray, so I couldn't fully see his face or what he was wearing. I felt a bit uneasy, but it didn't seem bothersome at first. I tried to speed up to make sure the man wasn't following me. Of course, when I sped up, he also sped up. I was very nervous because the man was very close to me, and I could almost hear his rough breathing. As I sped up trying to shake off the man behind me, my heart rate increased. I told myself to stay calm, but the panic inside me spread like wildfire. I tried not to look back, afraid to see the shadow of the one tracking me, but I could feel he was not far behind. My footsteps and breathing echoed on the quiet street, each step seemingly reminding me that this was not an ordinary walk home from school. In my panic, I thought of a solution. I decided to pretend to make a phone call, almost instinctively. I took out my phone, pretended to talk to my mother, hoping this act would deter the follower. I spoke in as relaxed a tone as possible, saying, "Yes, I'll be home soon. Can you come out to meet me?" While I quickly scanned my surroundings for possible escape route, the man's pace slowed down as if hesitating whether to continue following. I took the opportunity to turn into a small alley, silently praying this move would shake him off. I dared not look back, just kept moving forward, until I felt I had walked out of the alley and arrived in a more familiar, populated area. I secretly breathed a sigh of relief, feeling that I was only a step away from the safety of home. After getting home, I locked the doors and windows, making sure all locks were secure before I could relax a bit. I sat on the edge of my bed, thinking back on the situation, and couldn't help feeling frightened. I couldn't be sure if the stalker was the mysterious follower from before, but just to be safe, I immediately set my Instagram account to private and started to review my social media habits. I deleted all photos and stories that could potentially reveal my daily routes or habits. That night, I hardly slept at all. I lay in bed occasionally, hearing noises I thought were the man breaking into my house. Although I knew the doors and windows were locked, the fear lingered. I kept reminding myself that the person was gone and I was safe now. But it wasn't until dawn that I finally relaxed and fell asleep. The next day, I shared this experience with my family and a few close friends who were all very concerned. From then on, my parents accompanied me to and from school. I also reported the incident to my school teachers, hoping to get some advice and help. Since then, I've been more cautious in managing my social media accounts and think twice before sharing anything. Although social media is a great place to showcase life and communicate, protecting personal privacy and safety always comes first. In my sophomore year of college, I became more active on social media, trying to escape from my daily life a bit. The pressure of college and academic burdens made me yearn for a way to release, and Instagram seemed to offer a perfect outlet. I started following various accounts related to outdoor activities, photography, and travel, hoping to get some inspiration. One day I noticed an account of a girl named Evelyn, filled with photos of her adventure travels, from hiking to skiing, each picture brimming with vitality and enviable energy. I quickly followed her, and she followed me back. Soon after, we began interacting on Instagram, and she seemed quite interested in some of my photography work. Our chat started with simple comment exchanges and quickly progressed to private messaging. Evelyn told me she was looking for a photography partner to explore some local outdoor spots together. I was thrilled by the proposal. After all, this was exactly what I had been dreaming of. After a few days of discussion, we decided to spend a weekend together hiking and photographing in a nearby national park. However, the day before we were supposed to meet, some details began to make me uneasy. Evelyn asked for specific personal information, including my full name, address, and even my car's license plate number. She explained that this was for safety reasons, in case we got lost or something happened in the park. While this sounded somewhat reasonable, my intuition told me these requests were too specific and intrusive. Despite feeling odd about Evelyn's requests for specific personal information, I ended up giving her my full name. Perhaps it was a sliver of hope overshadowing the warning of my intuition. Or maybe this could truly be a memorable adventure shared with a like-minded person. The next day I arrived at the planned national park entrance as agreed. Evelyn messaged me saying she had already arrived, but looking around, besides me, there was only another man sitting in his car at the entrance parking lot, which obviously couldn't be Evelyn. Moreover, she had not mentioned her car type and color before, which started to raise doubts. Recalling the strange questions Evelyn asked the night before, I immediately realized I might be in a not-so-good situation. I quickly made up an excuse, messaging her that I was still on my way because my car had a flat tire and needed fixing. Strangely, after sending the message, I noticed the man in the car started to act very agitated. He looked around from time and even got out of his car to scrutinize every vehicle in the parking lot, as if looking for someone. My nervousness intensified, silently affirming this must be related to Evelyn. What shocked me more was when the man approached my car, called out my full name with a grim expression, trying to gauge my reaction. My heart raced, but I forced myself to remain calm. I looked at him confused while impatiently waving my hand, telling him he had the wrong person. He stared at me for a few seconds, seemingly judging my reaction, then reluctantly turned back to his car. I took the chance to quickly start my vehicle and leave that place, not daring to linger any longer. In a safe place, I stopped the car to take deep breaths, trying to calm myself down. Fortunately, I only gave Evelyn my full name, not my license plate number and address. Otherwise, the consequences could have been unimaginable. I began to scrutinize Evelyn's social media account, hoping to find some reassuring signs. However, I noticed a strange pattern. All her photos were very professional, lacking any natural, unedited moments. Moreover, despite her account seeming popular with thousands of followers, there was almost no interaction with them. As I dug deeper, I uncovered some obvious discrepancies. Some of the so-called travel photos could be found online in their original form upon closer inspection, meaning these were not her own shots. I realized Evelyn's account was a carefully designed scam. The day after, Evelyn still tried to contact me, seemingly indifferent to my no-show the previous day. The real-life man posing as Evelyn still wanted to arrange hikes and photography outings with me, an idea that left me feeling panicked and disgusted. I immediately ceased all communication with her and reported her account, and I also contacted the police. I tightened my social media privacy settings, deciding to be much more cautious in interacting with others from then on. The following weekend, to soothe my spirits, I went to another national park alone. While somewhat disheartened, I also felt relieved to have avoided potential danger. Over the years I've had my Instagram account, I've shared snippets of my daily life almost every day, gradually accumulating a number of loyal followers. It became an essential window through which I communicated with the outside world, documenting my growth and changes. When I decided to switch to a new phone, I ensured that all data on the old phone was completely erased before selling it to a second-hand phone shop. I thought this would allow me to start my new phone life worry-free, but I couldn't have anticipated the unprecedented trouble this action would bring. Months later, on a weekend as usual, I opened Instagram to browse through the latest updates from my friends. Suddenly, I received a private message from a high school friend, alerting me that someone was posting my photos using a fake account. My heart skipped a beat. I immediately clicked on the link he provided, and my heart nearly stopped. The account was using my name and photos as if another shadow of me was living on social media. Upon closer examination of the account, I discovered some unsettling things. Some photos were indeed those I had previously shared on Instagram, which confused me greatly. But what shocked me more were the private photos I had never shared publicly, only saved on my old phone. These included family pictures, photos from private gatherings, and even moments from my personal life. The fake account was very active, posting new content nearly every day, with each post receiving numerous likes and comments. It seemed as if the account had its own life, its own story, but all were presented to the world under my identity. Seeing strangers comment and discuss a fictional version of me filled me with anger and a sense of powerlessness. What disturbed me the most was that the account also attached ambiguous captions to each photo, like "It's so cold today, I miss you," attracting a lot of likes, with most comments being hearts and fire emojis. I felt both angry and helpless as the account quickly accumulated thousands of followers playing with my privacy and image. I was disgusted and furious, never imagining that I would become a online impersonation. After discovering the Instagram account impersonating me, my emotions were a mix of anger, fear, and anxiety. I knew I had to take action. I captured some screenshots of the account, including the private photos I had never made public, as well as the posts and related comments made by the account. With this evidence, I first tried reporting the account through Instagram's reporting function. But before taking any significant action, I decided to directly contact the account impersonating me. I sent them a direct message, straightforwardly demanding they stop using my photos and delete all the content they had posted. I expressed my anger and determination in the message, warning them that I would take legal action if they did not comply. After sending this message, I was incredibly anxious, constantly refreshing the page, waiting for a response. To my surprise, the account quickly replied to my message. Their response was cold and cunning, claiming it was just fan behavior and meant no harm. But how could I accept such an explanation? My private life was made public, and my identity was misused, far exceeding what fan behavior entails. I replied again, insisting on the immediate deletion of all content, while I began preparing to contact the police. As I prepared to report to the police, I also explained the situation to my friends and family, who were shocked and unanimously supported me in taking legal action. Just as I was about to file a report with the police, the account suddenly got disabled, and all photos and posts disappeared. This gave me some relief, but the unease in my heart did not fully vanish. Unfortunately, the calm did not last long. A few days later, I began receiving private messages from several unknown accounts, some of which contained threats and intimidation. These messages made me extremely uneasy, realizing this issue might be much more serious than I had initially thought. Without hesitation, I reported the situation to the police, providing all the threatening messages I received as evidence. With the involvement of the police, I gradually felt the situation was getting under control. The police took my case seriously, initiated an investigation. Meanwhile, I also took extra measures to protect myself, including changing all my social media and personal account passwords and enhancing my account security settings. Just when I thought everything was starting to calm down, I received an anonymous letter at my doorstep. The content was full of threats warning me not to continue investigating. This made me fully realize that I was facing an opponent who was both cunning and dangerous. I contacted the police again, handing over the letter to them. For my safety, I decided to temporarily move out of the house I was renting at the time to a safer location. The entire incident brought me significant psychological stress, and I have since been more cautious in handling my account privacy and disposing of old electronic devices.